So I went down, and Kim was in the. This was my first impression. Was Kim was sitting there, and he did not look like a typical American musician or recording artist. There was definitely something different about him, and he stood out. There's no question about that. But there was a sense of conflict in the air. It was late at night. There were tracks playing in the control room that sounded amazing, like really fucking awesome, right? That I remember. And I went in, it was like, okay, what's going on? And then I was told that up till that point, he had gone in and started recording these tracks that were going to be this album. I knew nothing about him, except that he was a foreign artist, and that was it. But I learned that he had like the absolute A-list of studio musicians from New York in the studio. So in other words, he had the best studio. He had these well-known producers who probably said, okay, we're going to get the best studio guys in, and we're going to cut these tracks, which they did, right? But Kim, being Kim, and understandably, this is what I recall anyway, was that when they would do the playbacks of the songs, so they would play the song down, these guys, because they do 1 million recording sessions, and they have an attitude, they would just sit there and they would, look at their watches and, drink and take whatever drugs they were taking and do whatever they were doing, and not even go back in and listen to the playbacks. And Kim fired all of them.
Okay.
Kim Larsen came into New York City, and he fired the best musicians in the world. He did, and that he did. And I remember the track sounded great. So what happened after that, and this is where I came in, was that it was now this vicious cycle that can happen in recording sessions when musicians, for one reason or the other, aren't working, is that they start getting replaced, and they start replacing a drummer, and then the drummer comes in and go, he's not right. Then another one comes, he's not right. Then they get the drummer from the Ramones, which I did, he's not right. And then they get this studio drummer. They went through a bunch of different people trying to replace a best drummer in New York, and they couldn't do it. So I was in on that call, right? And I went in, I don't even remember who else was on the session, but there were some other guys who were basically at this point trying out. But Kim and I kind of hit it off, because we knew, I didn't really know what was going on, but it seemed like something is wrong with all of this, but let's play some tunes down, see what we get. And he smoked Lucky Strikes, and I was bumming cigarettes off him through the whole. In those days, you could smoke in a recording studio, right? And I was like bumming cigarettes. That he remembered, and I got along well with him. And we recorded 3 or 4 songs, but the session was clearly, even at that point, not working, not happening. But I think I did okay on it, but it still was not. And I think I went in 2 nights, and after the second night, Kim said, as he would say, he said, go to the desk and collect your check. That was, that's how he put it. Go to the desk and collect your check, right? Which, of course, that wasn't how it was done. A check would be processed and sent to me and stuff, but he was saying, that was that. So about 3 months later, I'm working on a film, because I do film work, which you know. And the assignment was that I had to listen to a singer who was in a Broadway play, something that I would never do. I would never go to Broadway. It's like a Frenchman going to the Eiffel Tower. It's like or a New Yorker going to the Empire State Building. I just would not ever go to a Broadway, unless it was something very special or I had to do it. So I go, and who the hell is standing on the line but Larsen and Hannah. This is like 3 months later now.
Yeah.
And we just look at each other and go, shit, we know each other, you know. And then from there was a connection made. He had a manager who was a very clean-cut Swede named Sture Linden.
Yeah.
And do you know that name? Do you know that history a little bit? Okay, so Stu Linden, he said, Stu Linden will call you. I want to do some, Kim wants to play some gigs at CBGB's at Max's Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
And I still don't really know who Kim is, really. But at this point, I'm in the recording studios in Manhattan. I'm not thinking about playing at the clubs in the Bowery. It just wasn't what I was doing. I was in Midtown doing recording sessions, getting paid well for it. That's what I thought I was going, right?
Yeah.
So I very boldly said this too. I said, I'm not really that into, because Kim wanted to get a band together. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to be in a band. I said, but I'll produce his records. And then Kim it was a very bold, it's like an audacious comment that I made to him. And this was on the phone that morning, and Stuart said, very well, I'll come up and see you, and we'll go look for studios. I was like, okay.